shaping our world.
People who will call and start telling you about the Bible prophecy about America and everything. See, America is not in the Bible.
There's some people who, yes, they share the ideology of, yes, we and these people, we are equal, but they can't speak up.
Borderlines on Nigeria Info every Friday at 4 p.m. The world is changing. Don't just watch, understand it. Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
Good afternoon, Lagos, Nigeria, wherever you're joining us from. Some of you joined from Israel, some from Palestine. Some of you joined from the UK, Europe, America. This afternoon we added Australia. My name is Ireti Bakare-Yusuf, right? I am your host for Borderlines. We have an exciting show for you today. We could have done this show last week, but I thought it'll be great for us to leave it to this week, and I'll tell you why. But first and foremost, let me tell you about who my guest is, and you might understand, or you might have to wait till I start talking to him and you'll understand why. His name is Chozy Aiyub. He's a Palestinian-American actor, writer, and producer. In a world where identity, politics, and storytelling often collide, Chozy stands in the intersection. He uses film not just as a creative outlet, but as a powerful tool for advocacy and awareness. Chozy Aiyub is a Palestinian, and those of you that are watching me, don't worry, I'm just cooling down from the heat. Chozy Aiyub is a Palestinian-American actor. He's a writer, as I said earlier, he's a producer, and he's also an activist. He's based in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States. He was born in East Jerusalem. He was raised in a culturally rich, artistic household. Chozy began making films at the very tender age of 13. We're going to ask him about that and what that meant to him. And that, as he says, was an early sign of his passion that would evolve into a purposeful career. Chozy, welcome to Nigeria, to Borderlines, the only show that matters in Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I wish I was there in person. It would be lovely.
It would be fantastic to have you. Now, you're already wearing the hat because the first thing I want to talk about is your film before we get into everything else. The Colonizer. It's, and I think the title is quite jarring, right? Because when you see such a title, you're like, okay, what's going on here? And then you get to understand why it is called The Colonizer. But I'm going to let you tell us. Before you do that, let me remind my listeners, you can watch us live on YouTube, on Facebook, and we are live on Instagram, Nigeria Info 99.3 FM. So tell us, why that title and what's the film about?
Sure. Well, when I came to the U.S. in 2001 from East Jerusalem, most people didn't know much about Palestine. So when people meet me, they ask me where I'm from. I say Palestine. They say Pakistan. I'm like, no, I'm Palestinian. Where's Jesus from? And then they say Israel. And I was like, well, that's a branding issue. And they're like, huh, what's really going on? So I kept telling the same story over and over and over. And eventually I got sick of it. So I prayed about it and I decided to make it into a parable, a movie, that an interaction that happens between two. So The Colonizer is a story about the challenges of faith in the face of adversity. It's a parable of the ruin of Palestine in 1948, because most people don't know how long this situation has been going on. It took effect in 1948, and that's when Palestine lost its land and it changed its name to Israel by the colonizers that came from Europe. So my grandpa in 1948, he lost his home, along with my grandma, of course, and his family. They had to flee to Lebanon, which was north of Palestine, and that's when my dad was born, in the border, in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of like in the middle of a war, right? And then eventually, when they came back after months to see their home in Palestine, they needed papers. It became Israel. They had people that don't look like them, speak a language they don't speak, that took over the whole region. And eventually, when my grandpa came back to his house, it was taken, it was colonized. So the colonizer is just a story that many people can relate to. It's not just Palestinians that have been colonized. I mean, a lot of Africa has been colonized. A lot of languages that Africans speak, whether it's French or Spanish, is because of colonization. India, I mean, America, South America, those people did not speak Spanish or Portuguese or English. You know, they spoke their dialect and languages, the Native Americans that lived there. So the story of Palestine is just one of many, but it's dear to the heart because that's where I come from. And the most important aspect in this film is when you talk about Palestine, people think about Jews and Muslims. As Palestinians, we were coexisting. The demographic was pretty much 30% Christian, 65% Muslim, and 5% Jewish. But the people look like they're from there. They're not blonde, blue eyes. We had what we call today black and brown. So there was dark pigmentation, lighter pigmentation. Um, so everybody's trying to sell the story as the Jews and the Muslims, and that's the conflict. But there's Christians like me, and Christianity came out of Palestine. Jesus was born in Judea and Palestine in Bethlehem, and that was the birth of Christianity. And eventually, Christianity spread through Lebanon, Syria, Jordan. That's the Semitic countries, and Armenia was one of the first Christian countries. You have Ethiopia, and then it just spread around the world. And people don't understand that the original inhabitants of Palestine were predominantly Christian. And since 1948, the number of Christians went from 30% barely to 1% and is decreasing today. People don't even know that there's Christians in Gaza today and that the Israeli regime bombed churches along with mosques. Every country and every city and every area is distinct. While some countries there might be oppression of a specific group of people, whether they're Muslim or Christian or Hindu or whatever, our situation is very unique because we were coexisting. Jews were going to synagogues, Muslims were going to mosques, Christians were going to churches. And then in 1948, everything changed, and the colonization, the occupation, the apartheid began when these so-called Israeli Jews started treating the Palestinian Christians and Muslims alike as second-class citizens in their own home. So I had to focus on the aspect of Palestinian Christian character so I can relate, first of all, to the Western world that can't relate to the topic because they're like, well, they're Muslims. We don't know nothing about them. And they're taught something different about the Jews. And they don't understand really who these Jews that call themselves the Jews in Israel are. And they try to relate the term Israel today for the biblical term of Israel, which is Jacob and a nation of people. So now instead of talking about people that God led into salvation, they're talking about a plot of land that is important with people that moved in and out through thousands of years. And they claim we're Arabs as Palestinians, that we came from somewhere else. Just because we speak Arabic doesn't make our DNA 100% from Yemen or Saudi Arabia, which is where the Arabs pretty much come from. Everybody has a different DNA. There has been so much colonization and civilization and people moving that you might think you're 100% pure, but you might have a neighboring country's DNA or another continent. So these people that came there saying that they belong to that land and they can trace themselves to a tribe of Israel does not make sense biologically, DNA wise, skin color wise, ethnically wise, religiously wise. And we are today in season 75, episode 10 of the story. And people need to understand what happened on season 1, episode 1. So I had to bring that story to 1948, which I actually did this film before everything took off in October of 2023.
Ah,
I actually
interesting.
filmed this movie. Yeah, I actually filmed this movie in January 2023. And then after we filmed it, we did editing and sound editing, video editing, coloring, and all that stuff, and post-production, as they call it. And then the film was ready middle of September. And that's when I screened it at my church here, New Vision Church, which is a topic most people didn't understand much about. And then in October, things took off. And what a timing, but it's everything is in God's timing. And I guess it was supposed to go that way
Okay.
so the truth can prevail and people can learn about the topic.
Thank you. Seeing your hat now, going through your Instagram, the stories, there's so much we need to explore. One of the things that comes out strongly, you can't miss it, it's in your face, is your pride, your belief, and your strength in your religion, in Jesus, in being a Christian. Indeed, even the colonizer is told in that way. Talk to us about being a Palestinian Christian. I've had a lady whose name I forget now, who is married to a Palestinian Christian. They live in Jerusalem. And she had said that she's a white American. She's a Christian, but to Palestinian Christians, Christianity means so much more, because a large majority of them are actually by lineage connected to Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the difference between being from their region versus somebody who's not in their region is people need to understand that Jesus walked there, right? So whatever I played, whatever I grew up, whatever I ate, is exactly the place where Jesus and his disciples walked, preached the gospel, where Jesus was crucified, where Jesus has died and risen 3 days later. So to us as Palestinians, also Lebanese, Syrians, and Jordanians, because Jesus walked all those areas and he pretty much brought people to God through him as the bridge. So we look at ourselves as the first descendants of his bloodline, the first Christians of the world. And we don't look at Christianity based on nationality, really, or we don't do like ethnic idolatry, and it's not about skin color, and it's not about none of those. It's just about the message of Christ. It's not even really about the religion itself, because Jesus didn't come to bring Christianity. Jesus came to save people of non-believers and believers, Jews, Gentiles, Greeks, black, white, blue, green, like it didn't matter. And his skin color doesn't matter either. A lot of people try to whitewash Jesus. Well, we all know he's from the Middle East, what we call today the Middle East. He's from there, so there's no way he could have been blonde with blue eyes, right? Even dating back to the Israelites and Moses, when they got lost in the desert for 40 years, you can't be light-skinned and get lost in the desert and survive. You got to have a certain skin pigmentation and melanin in your skin to withstand the sun. So it's easily to identify that the Israelites were your skin color. But people want to deny that, and they just want to highlight a specific skin color, or specific religion, or specific that. But to us, it's not really about pride of being Palestinians. It's just the love that Christ have for us, and just having his spirit within us, growing up in a place where his foot and his hand touched people and places. It's meaningful to us. And even though when I was a kid, I couldn't understand everything about God and Christ and religion and all those things, and I battled with God because I come from a multi-faith family. My dad grew up as a Muslim, but he grew up in a Jewish school in the north of the country. My mom, being from the old city, she dabbled between Orthodoxy and Catholicism. So I always questioned about God and Jesus and who is Jesus and what does it say in this book, what does it say in that book. And I'm like, okay, everything is changing and everything is different, and everybody gets argumentative when it comes to Jesus. So I kept digging, and it says, "Seek and you shall find." And I lost a sister in a car accident when I was 17. She was 23.
Mm.
And that's when I turned my back on God because I couldn't understand why would God do that and take my sister away from me and my family because it's paralyzed the family. So since then, I kind of believed in God, but I turned my back on God and I just decided to live my life without having his hand in my hand leading me to the righteous path. And obviously, when you do that, the devil welcomes you in open arms. And my life has been a tornado until 5 years ago. I had an encounter face to face with Jesus Christ, and I still have had questions. Like,
Mm.
I still was struggling. And then 3 years ago, I was saved, and I truly submitted and believed. So, looking at other Palestinian Christians that might have been devout, right,
Mm-hmm.
during my childhood, it was just a way of life. And they didn't have to say they're Christians. You can tell they're what we call Christians today by their actions. Because I feel like a lot of Western people, especially in America, their mouth is full of scripture, but their heart is not full of Christ.
Mm.
And I'm like, don't tell me you're Christian. Show me. Because Jesus came for a specific message of peace and love. And I see a lot of people claim that they're followers of Christ, which is Christian, which means a little Christ, that are not following the message of Christ. They're not loving their neighbor. They're not praying for their enemy. They're not showing the light in the darkness. They're actually hating somebody because of their skin color or their religion. They don't know their neighbor. They move to countries and kill people, or they just want dominance and resources, whether it's from Africa, Middle East, Asia, South America. That's not Christian. The Christian faith that I believe in is turning the other cheek, showing love, and possibly getting persecuted for Christ and his message, because we are here temporary. This is our graveyard. While we created borders as human beings, we created all these things that we restructured and stuff and said, I belong here, you belong there. If you cross here, I will shoot you. You need papers and all that. I don't see the world like that because
Thank you.
this is all temporary. This is going to be the graveyard. And I believe the second phase in life, the afterlife, for me at least, is going to be totally different than what I'm seeing right now
Thank
of
you.
thieves and killing and murdering and rape and kids getting blown up in Gaza and children starving in Congo and Africa and people having so much dirt in India that nobody's helping, or Armenian Christians getting persecuted left and right, and Chinese Muslims getting persecuted, and Palestinians, Christians, and Muslims getting persecuted, and some problems between Nigerians in the north and in the south, between Muslims and Christians. And there's so much turmoil, and that's not how we're supposed to live, even
Thank you.
by faith of each
Mhm.
religion. We're not supposed to be killing one another and saying, I'm right, you're wrong. Well, you are building a relationship with God, however that looks like to you. But if your message is violence, and you have to believe what I believe, then you lost God.
Indeed. You mentioned something very interesting. You talked about the afterlife. Of course, last weekend was Easter. And you've also said, you once said Jesus Christ was the first Palestinian martyr. In this same conversation, you have said about how your faith was tested. Sorry for the loss of your sister, because you lost your sister and you questioned God. How do you keep that faith? How do you continue to stay believing in that faith when you see what's going on in Gaza right now? As you rightly said, given that Jesus was a Palestinian and you called him the first martyr, should there be more martyrs that are going to lose their lives in order for Palestine to be free?
That's a good one. Well, yes, Jesus was Palestinian. Obviously, the definition of a Palestinian today is changed since a Palestinian of 2,000 years ago. But if someone is born in a country like Nigeria, then he was a Nigerian.
That's
Nigeria
right.
2,000 years ago is different than Nigeria today.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a Palestinian, sure. And he was a Hebrew Israelite. That's true. He comes from Judea, which where the term Jew comes from. So he is Judean, yes. Um, and the problem is people, they don't know who Jesus Christ was. That's the problem. Or they're not kind of like focusing on his message and what he came for. I mean, he's the Prince of Peace. He came to bring peace, and look what humanity did to him. The Pharisees and the Sadducees, the Jewish government, and the Romans pretty much had him killed. Obviously, the Pharisees, the Jewish government, wanted him crucified. Even the Romans didn't want to do it, and then they ended up doing it. So pretty much his blood was on the Jews and the Gentiles back then, which means on humanity.
Mm.
Even though he was a martyr, he was the savior because he resurrected. Usually a martyr dies and stays dead. So while we're seeing Jesus on the cross, whether it says it was him or not was him, it wasn't him regardless, because the Muslim faith, for example, says it looked like him, but it wasn't him. But as the Christian faith, the whole thing is based on the sacrifice of the lamb. Now, the Jewish faith does not even believe in Jesus as the Messiah, and they have a whole different book that is a little bit wicked called the Talmud that makes a mockery of Jesus Christ and is very blasphemous. So that's a whole story for another day or another topic. But based on my faith that believes Jesus Christ is the Savior, God in the flesh, came to save mankind, I know he's going to come back. And he's not coming back like the first time. The first time he came as a lamb. This time he's coming as a roaring lion. Because God gave us free will, and so he did for the devil that rebelled against God, the angel that rebelled against God. So the devil is running this world right now, and he is looking for somebody to devour. There has been so many religions, there's so many faiths, there's so many false and deception, false indoctrination and deception. So that's happening along the globe, even with people of the Christian faith. They're so deceived, like Zionists, right? They think Israel today is the Israel of the Bible, and they have no clue what's really going on. So the way I keep my faith is, first of all, I trust in Jesus' sacrifice. I trust in his message of love and peace, but also persecution. I know, as a believer and follower of Christ, I will be persecuted eventually. Whether now, yesterday, now, or today. Now you see a persecution of Palestinians, right? So, okay, we know the Christian faith. Well, what do the Muslims believe, right? So that's a conversation to have with them. But to me, I don't look at it like that because it's Palestinians as a collective punishment. What keeps me hopeful is God has a plan that we will never understand. He has a plan that will bring salvation even through destruction. God will eventually, he won already, and he's going to win at the end. And the devil is going to do what the devil is going to do, and he's going to devour and destroy. And he has power. We're not going to take that. We're not going to say he is powerless.
Okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to have to interrupt you then. When you mention the devil, you're living in Donald Trump's America right now. And much as one of the things you say is you live in America, or you emigrated to America for freedom, the freedom to be able to do and be you and create without having to look over your shoulders. Here we have today an America where literally, unless you are white, Anglo-Saxon, you are looking over your shoulder. And you talk about the devil. How is it? Can you connect that? I mean, would it be fair to say there's a devil that's winning in American society right now?
Well, I don't think it's just Trump. That's just the newest form of it. I believe that this country, the United States of America, did not even start as a Christian nation. I believe it was started in 1776 as a Freemason Illuminati country, and that's where the devil dwells. I believe that what they did to the Native Americans and to the Africans here has nothing to do with Christianity. It has everything to do against Christianity. That is just superiority based on something. Some people think they're superior because they're men. Some people think they're superior because they're white. Some people think they're superior because of they're Jewish.
Mm.
You know, superiority comes in so many different forms. Now you have superior Zionism, right? You have some Muslims think they're superior. You have
Mm.
Christians think they're superior. You have blacks that think they're superior. You have whites that think they're superior. You have Arabs that think they're superior. Like you can find that all over the world. The problem in America is it started by ethnically cleansing the country and bringing people from another land, stripping them of their names, language based on their skin color, and make them slaves to build America and work alongside other immigrants eventually because they just thought the people that took this country, they thought they're better than everybody else.
Mm.
So now we're in year 2025 and we have Trump again, but I don't blame Trump individually because this has been happening for a long time. I believe there's two wings on the same bird. Whether you have Biden, Obama, Trump, Clinton, Bush, doesn't matter. They have a script to play. I believe that presidents are not elected, they're selected. This is a whole play, and it's all about the gains and the greed of their pockets, and they're not looking out for the people. So even the white Christian American people, they're also not safe right now
Mm.
because I'm seeing a lot of things happening that they're questioning Trump, they're questioning the Zionists, they're questioning what's happening in Gaza, and they're getting censored and silenced. And you even have other students that were white, regardless of their religion, protesting for Palestine. They were beaten up, they were arrested, along with the browns and the blacks and the beige and the pinks and whatever you want to label people's colors, which I don't like to use because I think it's ridiculous
Mm.
because we're all created in the image of God, right?
Mm.
I mean, how boring would it be if we all look the same? I'll be bored.
Incredibly
But
boring.
I just think, yeah, but I think what's happening here is things have been hitting the gas pedal for a while. People are just catching up because most of the previous many presidents, they talk in a specific way and they make you feel like everything is great, but behind closed doors, they're wicked.
Mm.
Some presidents, they show you.
Mm.
They're just like, hey, we're wicked. I would rather you show me. I don't want to guess and you lie to me because that's deceiving. I would rather see it and be like, yeah, that's pretty wicked. But regardless if it's Democrats or Republicans,
Mm.
white president or black president, it doesn't matter. They don't care about the people. We're cockroaches to them. So our job is like, what can we do in our neighborhood, in our community?
Mm.
How can we help each other, increase the economy, protect the community, make sure it's safe for the children? That's how I look at it as, and we lost that in the world. We're losing a lot of communities. Maybe in South America, some Asia and Africa and Middle East, you still have that, but it's gone in America.
Right. We just lost, arguably, the most popular spiritual leader in the world. 1.3 billion Catholics. Pope Francis, was a man that not only connected with the struggle of the Palestinians, but he called Palestinian Christians every day since the genocide began. What are your thoughts on Pope Francis, and what do you think that meant, that connection, that emotional investment actually is what we call it. Calling it a connection almost doesn't really kind of capture it. He had an emotional investment in the people of Palestine, not just Palestine as a whole, but also especially in the Christians of Palestine. What do you think that meant?
I think to the Catholic Church in Palestine, to Catholics, I'm not a Catholic, but to the Catholics, he meant everything because that was their hope, right? Of course, Jesus is the ultimate hope, but you also like to see people of God that are speaking about the suffering of certain people. So he always spoke about the suffering of Palestinians and Lebanese as well. And I feel like it's a big loss for the Palestinians in Palestine and Lebanon and the Semitic countries because that was their only person who is, has the platform that he had to speak about against apartheid and the occupation system that is implemented by Israel in Palestine. And they spoke to him every day. And I know a couple of people in that church in Gaza that are stuck and cannot go anywhere. And they talk to him every day on the phone. And he gave them hope and love and try to give them something that most countries have not done, because they feel like a lot of Palestinians feel abandoned in Gaza. Like the whole world abandoned them, and now the only thing they have is just their faith and their belief. And some of them say, whatever there is out there, whatever you call yourself, because they're like, maybe I'm calling it the wrong name. You know, whether it's in English God, in Arabic Allah, in Spanish Dios, whoever it is, people just have lost every hope. All they have is God. But to have the Pope gone for that community, I mean, it's a big loss. We're not sure who's going to be the next one. I never really focused on the Pope per se, myself personally, because also I believe the system in the Vatican has its issues, right? The Jesuit order. And that also contributed to a lot of bloodshed itself. So that's questionable. Obviously, I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the system as a whole. So I question if the Pope didn't want this to proceed, and he's supposed to have some kind of power, how can this genocide in Palestine be going on for almost 2 years, killing more than 200,000 Palestinians, half of those or more are under the age of 5. I mean, I know the children are going straight to heaven, right? But think about the parents, the suffering, picking up arms and legs and pieces. The whole world is seeing that, and now we're getting, some people are just looking at it and be like, I guess that's normal. That's not supposed to be normal. We're not supposed to see such things, right?
Yeah.
So I pray that people there just find peace through this loss of the Pope, and I pray that whoever is assigned afterwards has the power to somehow end the bloodshed.
Thank you. Let's talk about you again, going back to your creativity, you know, the conflict, which is the other film that you made, the fact that you live in America, the fact that you had the freedom that you had always wanted to have, so you wouldn't have to live under an oppressed, you know, government, if you like.
Yes.
A lot of things that Palestinians who do have that freedom, especially those who live outside of Palestine, like Motaz Azizia, they suffer from survivor's guilt. Is that something that you connect with? Is that part of, do you channel that into your creativity in order to continue to feel, well, I've got this privilege and I'm going to continue to use this privilege rather than just have it and do nothing with it?
I believe, to me, it's not guilt. I don't live in guilt because I'm not guilty of anything, right? I live with a broken heart, saying what I'm saying. It's breaking my heart. I would describe it as broken from what I'm seeing happening to my people. So to me there's 3 things you can do. You can, when you're oppressed in a place, right? You can stay and deal with it. You can leave the country, or you can resist, but you might get killed. So resistance, for example, right now in Gaza, comes in 3 forms. You're going to be a journalist with a press badge to record everything. Or you're going to be a medic, or a person who's taking bodies out of the rubble. So you're a medical person. Or you decide to join the resisting force and fight. That's the only 3 jobs you have in Gaza right now as a male. I don't think there's anything else to do there. Either to show the world, help the people there, or try to resist the attacks. That's all you can do. And you see some people join the resistance, some people join the medical team, some people join the journalists. Everybody's getting killed. There's no difference. But that's what I see. And then you have people that either are sick or old or young, and they can't do nothing. So I think for the people that are not doing anything, the people that are unable to do things because maybe the woman cannot do what the men can do. I don't see no woman try to go in the rubbles and pull. Can you imagine? Like, I can't imagine. I can't fathom a woman going in the rubble. But I mean, you know, the women are the foundation of the Palestinian people. I mean, Mary gave birth to Jesus. So she's the cornerstone. So Palestinian women are the cornerstone. I don't diminish anything they're doing, but there's things that a man should do, because when things hit the fan, you see who's going on the rubble picking bodies and stuff. So I believe with my way of talking about this, or spreading awareness, or resisting, or whatever we want to call it, putting all those forms and ones of resisting and showing the world as a journalist what's going on, and also being historical. Like we need to learn history as Palestinians. We need to learn religions. We need to know geography. We need to know everything so we can have an argument with people. We can tell them, hey, we are human beings and we exist. So I believe my way of resistance and activism is not me going to the streets holding signs and yelling. There's people that do that, and I'm not diminishing what they do. There is people that are doing that and causing a noise. Sometimes it's heard, sometimes it's not. So what can I do to make people hear and not call it a noise? I think my form of activism is conversations, podcasts, as well as filmmaking. That's why I created Conflict, my short film. Conflict, 10-minute short film. It's an interrogation between an Israeli soldier and a Palestinian prisoner. When I wrote that myself, and that's when I started writing my short films. I wanted to play the Palestinian prisoner, and I wanted to cast an Israeli actor so he could play the soldier. And I found a Russian Israeli guy, and I was like, would you like to play this role? And he's like, I don't want to do anything political. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I prayed about it, and then God told me, play that role too. So I played both roles, and we filmed it in a great way that you can't even tell. So I played both roles, and that message was showing the story of the Palestinian prisoner from his point of view, showing the story for the Israeli guy from his point of view, because he has his own point of view too. There's some brainwashing happening here too. So, and then they have their little conflict. I'm right, you're wrong. And eventually it goes to two human beings sitting and seeing one another, like me and you.
Yeah.
And talking man to man on peace, unity, and justice. What can we do moving forward? So it's a message of peace, justice. I wouldn't say unity, because that's going to be very hard to unite, but I'll say peace and justice, right? So when I did that, some people watched it, they loved it. Some people be like, oh, you showed the Israeli like he's a human being. And I'm like, well, if we become like them, if we do what they do, then we become like them. They are still human beings. So we can't treat them like they're treating us because they think we're animals. We're not supposed to be like them. Then we lose our humanity.
Okay.
So I had to do that in the film. But the message is powerful, because if you really see the symbolism, you'll understand what I did there. And I don't want to tell your audience the story.
No, because we want them to go and watch it, actually. Because we're running out of time. Before we even get to the end,
I know there's so much to talk about.
There's a lot.
Sorry.
That's why we don't do short interviews on Borderlines, and even then we still don't have, because we don't do sound bites. We do conversations.
Yeah.
But even then we still run out of time. Before we go too far, at this moment, take your time. Just tell our audience where they can watch your films slowly. So, because I know as soon as I open up the lines, they're going to start calling.
Sure. So right now I have the Colonizer film. It's a feature film. It's an hour-long feature film. That's the Colonizer. That's the name of it.
Yeah.
And the website is thecolonizerfilm.com. Once they go to that website, there's a button that says watch film. I put it up for rental. They can rent it. I think it's about $7 or $8. And then they can rent it up for a whole week, and then it disappears, right? At the same time, in end of May, I found distribution for my film. So I will post on the website where else the film will be available, maybe for free.
Excellent.
With paid ads. This way it pays for itself.
Excellent.
Now, as far as Conflict and my other films, I have them private for now, but I will add also a button on that website for other films where people can watch them.
Okay.
And my production company is called Chosen, with a Z like my name, Chosen Productions. So it's the website. I couldn't get Chosen Productions, so I got Chosen Production, singular.com. You'll see all my work, and eventually I'm going to put all my films there. You can watch the trailers on there. And if people want to follow me where I'm active mostly, I would say on Instagram. My handle is Chozino, that is Chozino. That's where I post most of my reels, pictures, stories, and I have more information there about the link for my films and whatnot, so they can find all of that there as well. And they can find me also on Chozy Aiyub, which is my first name, last name.com, which I need to update. I haven't touched that website in a while, but
Thank you.
I'm also on YouTube, but I'm not as active. But Instagram is probably the best way for them to find me and message me if they would like to know more things, or if somebody else wants to invite me to their podcast.
They're going to be calling you now. 0201-277-0993. The female line is 0201-465-7190. You should have been sending your WhatsApp if you had any questions, comments, to 0809-597-5805. Notice we don't have time. One question, one short comment. Short, sharp, and succinct. I'm coming to the lines now. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Femi from Lagos State.
Go ahead, Femi.
Yes.
Hello. Yes, go ahead. Very quickly, please. We don't have time.
Okay, I'm following you now on Instagram. So I like your analogy.
Oh, you like his analogy? Or you're following him, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, he's following you. Okay, he's following you and he likes your work. His line just cut off. You can call back. One of the things that I saw on your Instagram, I'm not going to get a chance to ask any more questions. I can assure you they're my co-hosts. Hello.
Good afternoon, Sisi.
Good afternoon. Is that Emmanuel?
This is Emmanuel.
Yes, short, sharp, and succinct one. Emmanuel.
Okay, I understand DJ Khalid is a Palestinian. I understand they have some other celebrities, and
yes,
across the world. Is there any possibility of these people coming together, through up, like he is a filmmaker, as you said.
Yes.
Through up an unbiased kind of a movie that will stand the test of time, that will give people watching from the outside world attestation, of
I get
something that is undiluted. I mean, that will start the test of time, to educate the people coming in the future about what is really happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. What he's saying is there a possibility, because of course you've got celebrities like DJ Khalid, who we haven't heard anything of, but are there other Palestinian Americans who could come together to create an even bigger film, that, like I said, perhaps like an epic? We've seen Moses. I actually love the new Moses that's on Netflix. I found it very, very interesting. So actually, hold on to that. Write it down. Let me answer this. I told you the lines will go crazy. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Your name? Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Manuel calling from Lagos, Nigeria.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say hello to my good friend, Chozy. Though we do speak on Instagram, one of his biggest fans. So
oh, wow.
Want to say hello to him.
Okay, Chozy, did you hear that?
Emmanuel from Nigeria.
Emmanuel from Nigeria. He said you chat on Instagram. He's calling to say hello.
Oh, hi. Yeah, thank you for calling, man. Yeah, I got a lot of people started reaching out, so it's been exciting to me, because I always, to be honest with you, I have a lot of Nigerian friends in America, and I always wanted to go to Nigeria, so maybe I need to go one day.
Absolutely. Thank you, Emmanuel.
We'll be expecting you. We love you so much over here, so we'll be hoping that you come someday to come and to shoot a movie here too.
Thank you.
Also tell more of the story.
Thank you very much. Right. Okay. So one of the things that I saw on your Instagram before another comes in is the Holy Bible. It's an old. I don't even know how old it is. I'm going to ask you how old it is, where you show Palestine in the map. How old is that Bible? And why don't we see Palestine anymore?
It's in the 1800s, but I still go to antique stores here in the US, and every time there's a Bible that is made before 1940, 48, they always will have Palestine, Jesus in Palestine. But when Israel was established, they eliminated the name of Palestine. They call it Israel, and that's where people now seeing the new Bibles and believe that there's no such thing called Palestine, and it's always been there. So that's funny that they say that.
Thank you. Hello? Hello? Okay. I have a question here. I'm going to try and read it on WhatsApp.
You want me to answer that question about the other
film
person asked about the film?
Yes, please, very quickly.
I would say I'm trying to find people to get funding, whether they're here or Palestinian or across the globe. But I really wanted to make the colonizer a period piece.
Right.
Like make the backdrop of Palestine, the cars and everything, and make it like a 2-hour film with more details. But if somebody on your podcast that is an investor or has some funding to create a massive $1 million film, I would love to do that, but I work within my own means and my own budget.
Excellent. I'm sure somebody's listening and we'll keep our fingers crossed. So I have a question here. It says, good afternoon. Your guest, to you and your guest, my name is Tara from Lekki. A martyr is someone who suffers persecution or death for their beliefs, principles, or cause. Martyrs often demonstrate remarkable courage, conviction, and dedication to their faith or values. My question is, why would your guest call Jesus a martyr? Hold on to that question. Let me answer this call and you can answer them both. Hello? I need you to please, turn off your radio, please.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Please, let me ask your guest. He said Jesus was a Palestinian.
Yes.
But Jesus was also a Jew.
Mm-hmm.
So can you please explain to me, because Palestinians are Arabs, but he said Jesus was a Jew.
Okay.
Yes, which I know is a Jew. Please, can you explain the difference?
So how Jesus is a Palestinian and how he's also a Jew. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Right, I'm going to give you a minute. It's a great question. I'm going to give you a minute to answer that. You can start now to answer both of them because the lines are going and we don't have time. Go ahead.
Yeah, as far as Jesus being the martyr, when it happened, right, you're still at that time, he was a martyr at that point. And 3 days later, when he rose, you're like, okay, this is the Savior that the Bible has spoken about. So during the crucifixion, a martyr, the resurrection, a Savior. That's my answer for that.
Okay.
As far as Palestinian Jew, today, being a Jew is a person who follows Judaism, which is a religion made by man. Jews of today do not follow the Old Testament Torah. They follow the Talmud, the Mishnah, the Zohar, the Kabbalah, which is mystical Jewish magic, and so many other books. So comparing a Jew of today to a Jew of 2,000 years ago, they have nothing in common. Now, Jesus was Palestinian because he was born in Palestine. Palestinian doesn't mean Arab. We're not Arabs. You guys call us Arab because we speak Arabic. Our DNA might be 10% Arab, which is what I spoke about earlier. We are a production of the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, the caliphates, the Arab caliphates, the Babylonian Empire, the pharaohs, and some African, North African blood in us. That's what a Palestinian is today. So when Jesus walked earth, he was a pure Palestinian based on the country was called Palestine given by the Romans, and he was Jew as far as the blood, Judean. The Jew of today has nothing to do with the Jew, Jesus, because the Jews don't believe in Jesus. They actually make a mockery of him today. And a Jew today is a Jew is not the same color as a Jew 2,000 years ago.
Thank you. Right. I think, am I running out of time? I've still got time. 3 minutes. Okay. I've got 3 minutes and the line is going. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. Very quickly, your name, where you're calling from, and your
one, yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Ugochukwu from Akaribo Road in Shagam.
Go ahead.
Please, I want to ask your guest. What is his take on gay? Because there was a time that the
on LGBT
Pope supported gay people, and you see some Catholic priest.
He's not Catholic. He's not Catholic though. Yeah. But I can ask him. I will ask him.
Okay,
He's not
please just ask him what's the take about gay.
Thank you. Right, so he wants to know your thoughts on Ugochukwu wants to know your thoughts on LGBT. And I have another question here, which is, all right, it's to do with peace, which was going to be my last question to you, but I might as well put it to you now. What is peace? What does peace look like to you? And when do you think this genocide is going to end? I'm going to give you, 1 minute? Yeah, I'll give you 1 minute to answer all those. You have to be very quick so I can plug in another one.
The first question, I believe God created man and woman, and that's the only way you can produce. And we know Sodom and Gomorrah and what happened. So to me, that's against God's will. And it doesn't mean I hate them. I show them love and I try to lead them to the truth because I feel like these people are either autistic, lost, abused, molested. We need to show them love, not hate, and hopefully they can find the light and find Christ. Okay. That's my answer about the LGBTQ. I don't support it, but I'm not a person full of hate. Okay. I need to love people and show them Christ. As far as peace, coexisting is peace. Having a black man, an Asian man, and what you call an Arab man, an American man, a Muslim, a Jew, a Christian, a Buddhist, a Hindu, coexisting, living in peace, loving one another. You have your religion, I have mine. I can tell you about Jesus. I can't force you to convert. Don't try to tell me what to believe. I'm not going to tell you what to believe. I'm going to just share, have productive conversations, live, share culture, languages, and just love one another. That to me is peace. And to me, that comes in Christ.
Okay. Now I have, good evening to you again, Chozy. What is the possibility of other Christians in the world, like Anglicans, Protestants, and Catholics supporting Palestinian Christians and Palestine as a whole? This is from Ayo because it's something that actually every Palestinian Christian talks about. And even non-Palestinian Christians say, why is the Christian world so quiet?
I think the best answer I can give is to find a non-Zionist Christian pastor that is not reading out of the Schofield Bible, that is influenced by John Darby. And I think the best thing to do is to really focus on the word Israel in the Bible and the Old Testament of Jacob and his people, rather than a country created by the British Rothschilds.
Right. Okay.
Once you disconnect modern Israel from the Bible, you'll understand that these people today that are colonized Israel is mentioned in Revelation 2:9 and Revelation 3:9 of the Bible.
Okay. Right. I can try and sneak in. Oh, I can't, apparently. We've run out of time. Chozy, thank you so much. Once again, just read out your Instagram handle.
Website?
Instagram handle.
Yeah, my Instagram handle is Chozino. That is CHOZINO. CHOZINO.
Excellent. God bless you. Thank you so much for joining us.
God bless you too.
Take care. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Peace. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.